back to the garage. I'm Jeremy. This is RC Garage 56. Today I am just working on a quick soldering project. I have the Element Bushido, and it is running Dean's connectors, and I have two Dean's batteries. They're really small. The only reason I actually have these batteries was for the Zool from Element as well. Whoops, just completely knocked the camera. Let's move you back a little bit. So I am going to replace all my Dean's connectors. So two on the battery. We'll talk about the safety of that, and then the two on the rigs that I have. Now, it doesn't have to. You have plenty of options for soldering in. If you're comfortable, you can just work with the caps. I prefer quality, the AMAS XT60s. That's what I'm going to go with, and they come with protective caps for the terminals, and then I always keep wire shielding around. So there's my red and my black. All right, I use a, what am I using? I use a 45 tin 55 lead solder, and I'm going to go straight for the actual terminal. But if you're not comfortable with the short leads, you can buy the XT connectors pre-assembled, where you're only just replacing down on the cable ends. Haven't decided if I'm going to use these on the batteries, but the batteries seem to have decent sized leads. The only secret to batteries is replace one lead at a time, so you don't have to worry about shorting them out and the danger of a thermal nuclear detonation. So we'll save the batteries for after. But I'm going to go with just the caps. I've got a what do I have? I have a soldering station here. Secret to a good soldering station is to have a decent soldering pen and something where you can control the heat. Now, when soldering, I like to use a relatively high heat and thin end, and I keep a steel wool, or I guess this is copper wool, around just to clean the tip off. Nobody likes a messy tip. I set the soldering station to 375, which is hot enough to deal with solder. I think they recommend 370 to 420. I like it at 375. 375 seems to work really well. It's quick, and I'm just going to start off with tinning. Now, on the batteries are female ends, so this is the female end that will replace this at some point. We're going to start off with the male end that's going to go on the rig. And the cool part about the AMAS is they tell you, and I'm not sure if you can see it, but the plus side and the negative side, and the easy way to remember that is the positive side is always square and the negative side has a curvature on it. That's the same on the female end. It is labeled, here's the plus, and then there's a negative, but for the most part, once again, the rounded side is negative and the positive side is a square. So positives are square, negative Nancy's are rounded. Anyways, so we'll start off with the male, and I'm just gonna tin the tips. I always use a good flux paste. And flux just gets rid of all the impurities and anything that's dirty in there. I like to just use a little bit of a brush, put it on both, because I'm going to tin up both ends real quick. I just want to get it on there, and this will melt as soon as I put the soldering tip on it. So I'll do that real quick just to get those heated up, and you can see it. Now they do say do it in a well ventilated area. I am in a well ventilated area. Don't worry about me. but make sure you are. And then I'm just gonna, a little bit of tinning. Tinning is where you just put your pre-mount on there just to, so it quickly accepts, and when it melts later on it'll hold. So that one's tinted, not tinted. That one is tinned. So it's ready to accept. And I really can't see what I'm doing on the far side, so we'll just make sure it gets there. There's enough here to accept. I'm gonna pull that off just so you can see it. Now, the square side's a little ugly, but that'll melt as soon as I put it in, and the rounded side is has enough on there. Maybe. I'll just melt that a little bit more just to get that in there. There we go. That gets hot real quick. I can feel the heat through the terminal on the other side. I think I want to use a little bit more. And I'm not going to burn my hands doing this, although that would make for a hilarious movie. There's recording. Just get that. Okay, so that's properly tinned up. Now the male side's pretty easy, right? Because this is just going to go on the rig. And I'm going to prep these wires, and I'll bring you back as soon as I've got the cut down to the length I want. But I'm pretty much just going to cut the amounts right underneath the existing tape. Okay, so I cut the previous lead off. I stripped off about 1/4 inch of shielding off of the existing wire. I'm going to take my protective layers and put those down so I don't forget them. I like to push them all the way to the end so they don't accidentally flip off in the event that you drop the wire. Right? It's not like dropping the soap. There you go. It's down there. Remember, the square one goes on the red side. Take my protective coat. I'm going to put that on there as well. I'm going to put it the right way. Almost did that backwards. So there's one. There's two. And that's it fits over the sheathing protection. And then I'm going to tint this up. Tint it up. First, I need to put the flux on. Get the other one all fluxed up. All fluxed up. It's all fluxed up. Get a little bit more on there. Okay. Okay. Now you can get yourself some helping hands. I've got one back there, but I don't really need it with just the simple process, right? And it's not as interesting. So what I like to do is I like to put the pen on one side, the solder on the other, and at some point it's probably just going to fall and burn and hit me. So we're going to do this a different way. We're going to do it like that. Steal a little bit. Just remember, I'm only tinning these wires. So I'm going to... Okay. There is a fair amount. That lead is protected. And the flux is melting down I'm touching my fingers. tickles. And by tickles, I mean it burns a little bit. And then we'll do a little bit more on the negative side. Just keep that from blowing in my face. And the flux has hit my fingers again. That's hot. Okay, so that is tinned up. We are ready to go. Now, these cords have a natural way of just wanting to sit this way, so I'm going to want to make sure I follow that. I'm going to do the negative terminal first because it's on the farther side. It's probably a little bit easier. Let me get that out of the way. And this is where the helping hand would probably come in handy, but I'm stubborn. But we'll move that into the way. See if we can't get that to stay. Okay, I'm going to reposition this so it works. Easiest thing would have been to pull off the ESC. I'm going to put that down for right now. Let me reposition. Okay, so helping hands in the way. It's all set up. I'm just going to touch that to that. And everything should have enough that it wants to stay already without me having to actually solder anything, because tinning's already there, but we're going to solder anyways just because it's fun. And I want to fill in all the gaps to make sure that there's no recess in there. And there we go. That is solid. Oh, it looks ugly. I'm going to stand up. Sitting down is just lazy, but you guys didn't want to see my belly button. There we go. It's falling right in there. Okay. Now that that's done, see how much I really need. Might have exposed too much. I'm probably going to cut this back a little bit. Now the protective shielding is fine because I've got about an inch there, and I only cut off about a quarter of an inch, I guess. So maybe I'm not. Just leave it like that, but that's where we're at. At this point, that is on there well, but you can feel how hot that is. And then I'm just going to flip this. Flip it, I mean I'm going to move it around that it's so far away it doesn't reach. Okay. Oops. Hope I didn't freaking hit it. So I'm going to wait for the solder to melt back in the cup. Yes. Oopsie. That's not good. Oh, we got a gap. That's not good. It's moving away from the rig. There we go. Clean off the tip. Pen for right now. Let that cool a little bit. Ooh, very hot. Okay, and there we have it. Like I said, I probably could have cut the leads a little bit shorter. There's a fair amount still exposed, but those will be protected once I pull up the sheathing. But I'm going to wait for it to cool a little bit, otherwise I'll pull up the sheathing and it'll start melting in place. And I want to get them over the terminals before they melt completely. There we go. Okay. Start off with the black one. So the black one goes right into the terminal, pushes right in. With the red, so we got a nice termination in there, both in there. My station also has a heat gun, which is really nice. So I'm going to just run it. It is set for 226 degrees, something like that. Yeah, 226. Because I missed the mark on 225, but whatever, 226. There we go. Those are sealed, sheathed. Put that down. Pretty sure you can see that. These aren't going anywhere. And then just move the cap on and it should click on. There you go. Dean side. Dean's replaced. Now I'm going to do the same thing. And the cool part is it's easier to work on the desk than it is to work on the rig. So I'm going to pull this out of the way. Do the same thing with a battery, but with the battery, safe way of doing it is just cut one terminal at a time. So I'm going to place this one. So I'm doing red first. I cut battery with a, whoops, not that much, because we already know we don't need that much. Just going to use that much. Little itty bitty one. Oops, turn the station off. Let's get the soldering pen back up to 375. So the soldering pen's heating back up. Now I shouldn't need flux on this because in theory it was sealed, but of course if I touched it with my hands I brought impurities back in. It's easier just to put the flux on it and move on. It's fluxed. Pre-tinning this one. Oopsie. Okay, side is tinned. Put that down. I'm going to do the cap. Just a little bit of flux first. Move over here. Hold it. Ooh, that's good to know. So these aren't cups like the other ones. They actually have, there's an end in there. So as I'm sitting there sticking solder in, it's filling up the bath pipe. And so it's just going further and further down. So you don't want to stick too much in there. Just want to make sure enough on the sides. That's tinned nicely. Let's do the same thing right here. Like this. Okay. These are both sides are nicely tinned. Now I'll prep with, oops, protective coating. One red, one black. All done. I'll cut these down to about half their size because I don't need the full amount. But I will need them on the desk, so I'm not going to put them away. There's that one there. There. And yeah. Secret is not forgetting all the parts and pieces that you're going to need eventually. So in this case, I'm going to put this down first, right direction. That'd be the wrong direction. Put this down there. Hold it. This is pre-tinned, so it's already ready to go. And you're not facing the right way. Let's fix that. There we go. I almost had the cap in the wrong one, the cover cap. And red goes on the square side. That's hot. What's really nice is the hole's deep enough that you can just put the bury the lead in there. So this way you can go ahead and heat it up. Make sure I got it right. Red is square. All right. Red is square. So just verify it again. Heat that space up. The red side of the battery is completed. Not good. Want to fix that. But I always give it a good yank, especially when we're talking about batteries. So I'll heat that back up and let that melt in again. I rented, you're not supposed to pull your batteries by your leads, but I'd like to at least make sure they can handle some kind of pull. Clearly that wasn't it. Okay, that's way better. Okay, now we can, now that that's protected, we don't have to worry about short circuiting anything. So we're going to sit there and trim this one off. Now for those of you that like Dean's connectors, I'm sorry. I just think they're old and antiquated, but there is a place for them, right? If you're looking to reduce weight, these things are a lot lighter than anything else out there. So before I go ahead and do that, I want to make sure I get the black protectant on there, as well as the, so we are now ready to go. I'm just going to take off my add some flux. What the flux? That's a lot of flux. Melt that down. Now I do use a silicone mat, so I don't have to worry about burning anything. Not that the laminate on the desk can protect it. Put that there. And then use this like that. Now, alligator clips are great, but sometimes they don't open up wide enough. Okay, I'm going to tin this one up a little bit. It's important to have a clean tip. It makes heating so much easier. Okay. There's so many jokes, jeez. Okay. And that is gnarly. Okay. So there's definitely enough on there now. I just got to melt it into place. Oh yeah, that was ugly. I'm going to flip this. Although I don't know that that really just flipped it. What I need to do is go this way. See, I'm not sure the camera can pick this up, but there is a gap in there. I want to make sure that there's no gaps in there, otherwise it's bad. And you've got a hole in the connection, so I want to make sure we seal everything. It's just okay. It's just a gap in the connection, right? It's better to have a solid connection. Okay. That's done. We didn't short the battery, we didn't burn down the house. Okay. That is connected. Okay. Check on real quick. Ooh. Let's see, that was still too hot. Yep. Still a little warm. Nothing like a good second-degree burn for video. Okay, but that is done. I'm just going to take the melt that down, melt down the heat shrink. Right, and there you have it, sealed. And then, once again, all we need is the click. Click. Done. And more or less, the same length. I could have done a little bit better, but you get the point. Done. And thanks for watching. If this is the kind of content you want to see, let me know. This is my first how-to on soldering. I don't know that you need another one, but I can also show what to do for a field fix. So maybe one day I'll do that one. But yeah, thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Tell your friends, tell your mom. Tell your dad too, because your mom shouldn't be watching me alone. I'll speak to you later.